This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. I'd like to introduce
Okay,
the
so this
commissioner,
one's to me.
please, and vice chairman, hello, Commissioner Clement C.J. Knuckles.
What's that, miss?
This one.
Deputy Clerk Campbell. Representing the planning department, we have planning director Zendo Kern.
Good morning.
Yes. The commissioners, please just confirm that you've had an opportunity to review the materials related to the applications being reviewed today.
Yes.
Just say yes, yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. I note that each commissioner has verbally confirmed having an opportunity to review application materials and all submitted testimony. Okay, just a little housekeeping, just aloha to everyone, but please make sure your cell phones are off or on silent. The public restrooms and drinking fountains are available outside the entrance doors on your right. If there's anyone here in person who would like to testify, please make sure you fill out the yellow sign-up form at the staff table. And also, if you have any written testimony that hasn't been sent in earlier, you may submit it to the staff now. I don't see that we have any in-house testifiers, is that right? Nobody has signed up?
No, there's no in-person testimony at this time.
Thank you. Okay, so we have approval of the minutes. We introduced the August 15th, 2024 minutes to be approved and ask if there's any corrections. No corrections. I'd like a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second, please.
Second.
Second by Mike De La Cruz. Okay, it was moved by Commissioner Kanuha and seconded by Commissioner De La Cruz. The minutes of August 15th, 2024 be approved as circulated and corrected. Any discussion? No. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Statements from the public on agenda items. This is, okay, so we don't really have any statements from the public. All right, and we don't have any in-person testifiers. Is there anybody on Zoom that's testifying?
Sorry, yep.
Yes, okay, good. So we just want to make sure that that all members of the public extend proper courtesy and respect to one another, to the commission, the commissioners, the staff, and the staff. All right. So we have an opportunity to the Zoom testifiers to testify if they want to testify now or when the agenda items are called.
Yeah, we have, Chair, we have 8 that wish to testify at the beginning of the meeting on Zoom.
Okay, so can we have this person so we can swear her in? Oh. We're gonna swear the person in on Zoom then?
We have first, Deborah Green. Could you turn on your camera, please? And unmute.
So is there more than one? Was there just one?
We have,
Mr.
there's 8.
8, okay, so if we can get all of them there at the same time so I can swear them in?
Okay, let me call them out. We have Deborah Green, Naomi Melamed, Crystal Schisler, Kelsey Chang, Don Barnett, Michael Carrillo, and Kevin Hill. Please turn your camera on so you can be sworn in to testify. Looks like we have one, Deborah Green.
Okay, well, will you please raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth today in front of the Leeward Planning Commission?
My video won't can't unmute my video.
Okay, just,
Kevin Hill.
sorry, whoever is there, there's more of them now. So all of you just raise your right hand. Okay, we've got 4 people that I can see. And I just have to swear you in to tell the truth. So you just please affirm that you'll tell the truth as before the Leeward Planning Commission. To say yes or nod your heads. So
Yes.
yes. Okay, there's 5.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then Mr. Roy is going to introduce each testifier, and when he does, you're going to state your name, the town you reside in, and then you'll begin your testimony, and you have 3 minutes to do that. Mr. Roy?
Okay, Deborah Green is first.
So Deborah, unmute and begin, state your name and the town you live in.
Aloha. Ooh, that's very,
Look
very
into your
loud.
mic because we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No, barely.
You can barely hear me.
Yeah, can you turn it up?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear her well.
I can sort of hear you, but
It's showing
there you
that.
are. That's good. Okay, you're on.
Okay.
Okay.
Aloha.
Aloha.
My name is Deborah Green. I'm testifying on behalf of Safe Tech Hawaii, a grassroots coalition of residents concerned about the proliferation of wireless infrastructure. And we've been working with Council Member Cindy Evans for over a year on her ordinance that was introduced on August 20th and was forwarded to you. She sought feedback from us on important points and involved our grassroots coalition at significant steps along the way. And she also had reached out to planning for feedback. So the director knew she had an ordinance in the pipeline. In contrast, there was no outreach from the director to our group or to any other members of the community that we know of. Yet he made the effort to contact every telecommunications corporation that does business here, but no community outreach. His ordinance reflects that. The biggest concern is that it gives the director almost exclusive control over wireless infrastructure with very little involvement from other agencies or experts. And there's too much reliance on the telecom corporations for compliance. There needs to be outside involvement. There needs to be checks and balances because unfortunately, telecom does not have a good reputation for self-policing. Another major concern is that the ordinance allows only 30 days for plan approval. That means that we went from a special use permit allowance with possible contested cases to suddenly 30 days, when 60 days is now the state requirement. So why does the director want to cut that time in half? Rushing through an approval process does not lend itself to responsible development. Also, the ordinance allows for towers on school property, daycare centers, playgrounds, everywhere with no order of priority. A 1,200-foot setback is included to manage safety risks, but it only applies to adjacent properties, not on the subject property. So there's nothing to prevent a tower going up on school property itself. We have to ask, why do children on adjacent properties need protection, but not those on the property itself? There's also no mention of 5G small wireless facilities when the community has grave concerns about those, and the county even adopted a resolution to reflect those concerns. And there's no public liability insurance requirement, which means the county could be liable and is not protected. Most general liability policies have a pollution exclusion, which means wireless radiation is listed as a pollutant, which it is, and it's not covered by the policy. Adequate insurance has to be from a licensed third-party insurance company. Pollution insurance is a basic right of any municipality to protect itself from lawsuits from citizens who claim harm from towers and antennas.
Please summarize.
Such lawsuits could literally bankrupt the county. Thank you for your consideration of our comments.
Thank you for your testimony. Next testifier, please.
Next, we have Naomi Melamed. Please turn on your camera.
Aloha. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Aloha, commissioners, and mahalo for your time today.
Please state
also-
your name and the
my
town.
name-
you live in. Yeah,
Oh, my name is Naomi Malamed and I live in Kapa'au, Hawaii. I represent as well the Grassroots Coalition Safe Tech Hawaii. We consist of constituents, as Deborah said, from around the state. We have been working on education efforts in our local schools and offering support for those who've been injured by EMF exposure. We've also been working on this type of legislation with it from the public for several years. I would like to communicate my support today for Council Member Cindy Evans' Ordinance 194 as well. It was introduced to the Planning Commission, and this was all prior to the release of the present ordinance item 4, written by the planning director, Mr. Kern, with input provided by the telecommunications companies. Our coalition supports connectivity, especially the proliferation of fiber optic technology in our community as we follow the examples that we see across the country of fiber cities that thrive socially and economically. Big Island has a great deal of fiber connectivity already, which we have consulted with Hawaiian Telecom, our local business, in the past on their development and future plans on the Big Island. They're the right step forward, in our opinion. The planning department's objective of transitioning the cell tower approval from a public forum process to a plan approval process by the planning director is too farly cited with industry streamlining. The residents of the Big Island will be ones affected, property values, health, etc., and they should have the right to a contested hearing and a say in the process. I'd like to visit the proposed item of a 30-day deadline for approval as well, or automatic approval without a contested case. I heard that Mr. Kern explained this in the last planning meeting, that it's an encouragement to the planning department to take these projects seriously. So if the proposed ordinance is to be in accord with the state law of a 60-day deadline, it doesn't really make sense. But as a citizen from this community, I trust the professionality of the commissioners to take the development projects seriously regardless of their timelines for approval. This change to me is more about bowing to the telecommunications and developers than our community's well-being. The lack of reference to small cells, I agree, is a concern as well. Cindy Evans, the Bill 194 addresses this item. We also disagree with the proposed installation of surveillance cameras on towers, especially at the county's expense, and contract sourced to private companies. This is a major threat to our privacy. With data being the current cash cow, that data could be collected, marketed, and sold to the highest bidder, a gross privacy invasion. In terms of fire, which these cameras are proposed to prevent, I encourage everyone to take a look at Bill 194, Cindy Evans' bill, as it's far superior. I hope that the planning department understands the level of precedents they could potentially be setting in the realm of public surveillance with this ordinance. So I'd like to thank you all for your attention and consideration of my testimony. We hope that you can or will look further into understanding why we support Councilmember Evans'
Thank you for your
proposed ordinance.
testimony.
Thank you.
Mhm. Next testifier, please.
Next, we have Crystal Schisler. She doesn't appear to be on, so after that would be a Layla. Oh, that's right.
Leela Vaga?
Barnett,
There's Leah, I think.
Dawn Barnett.
Wait, is that
I
Leah?
know Layla signed up to be at the beginning of the agenda item, not at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes, correct.
You want to speak now or at the agenda item, Leila?
Really, either one is fine.
So are you going to choose to speak now then? or-
Sorry, my video turned off. Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak now.
Okay.
I don't see the Dawn is on the
Okay,
video.
just
There we go.
state your name and the town you live in.
My name is Leela Vaga. I live in Portland, Oregon, and I'm here representing Verizon today. I'm with the Wireless Policy Group. And I just know that wireless is a highly technical topic. I wanted to offer that I'll be available if there are questions about wireless. We did provide comments through the public process as it's been proceeding, the standard public process. And we do still have some remaining concerns about the ordinance. Specifically, our primary concerns have to do with the minimum lot size and the 1,200-foot setback, and our concerns that will make it very difficult to serve, especially rural areas and some of the residential areas. But in general, we appreciate the public process. We are here to support in any way that we can. And certainly I know wireless can be very complicated. So I just always like to be available to offer to answer questions, technical process or otherwise, as you go through these things, because I work with wireless every day, but you certainly don't. So, and that's really all I've got to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the testifier? No. Okay. Thank you so much for your testimony. Do the next testifier.
Next, we have who's online, Kevin Hill. Please turn your camera on. Unmute.
Aloha, Kevin, are you there?
I am, but it won't let me turn the video on.
Okay.
So it's because the host has stopped it.
Okay, well,
Okay.
there
There
you
we
are.
go.
I see you
Oh,
now.
right on.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
So please state your name and the town you live in.
My name is Kevin Hill. I live in Hakalau.
3
And,
minutes.
thank you for the opportunity to testify. So I appreciate the comments from Safe Tech, and I guess right off the bat, I want to agree with the support of Cindy Evans' measure. And but further than that, I'm an advocate of much more restrictions, much more awareness, and attention to the harms and the dangers of proliferation of various frequencies. That my feeling is that if people don't know the harm of frequency, the potential harm of frequencies at this point, that it's willful. I mean, for 15 years, that's just as a consumer, I've watched testimonies, seen pictures of people with the old school cell phones and tumors in brains of people in the shape of the cell phone, prostate cancers for people carrying cell phones in their pocket. So I'm not opposed to cell phones, but I'm really opposed to people pretending there are not dangers associated with the proliferation of cell phones and with cell phone towers. I think it's egregious. And some countries, I know France doesn't allow cell towers anywhere near residential areas. I happen to know people personally, several people who are very sensitive to EMF. Even people who aren't, though, it causes harm. So I had this, it's a little bit anecdotal, but I had a conversation a couple of years ago with a doctor, and I asked him, I'm like, I know what they say the symptoms of the flu are, but could you tell me what flu actually is, like from a medical perspective? So that's easy. He says it's damaged cells. It's your body purging itself from damaged cells. So what it was explained to me many years ago about how I could think through the impacts in my own life of microwave technology, EMF, various forms of exposures to things, is that the way that they work, the way a microwave works, is to agitate the molecules of water, and that agitation creates heat, and therefore you can heat your food, right? But in the same sense, there's so many things bombarding our biology that do the same things to our cells. Vibrating, causing movement in our body and our cells, where an individual cell cannot, its ecosystem is disrupted. It can intake food, but it can't excrete. And that causes a toxic cell. I mentioned about the flu, right? So flu, like any sickness, our body has to heal itself. And that detoxification process from whatever the source is, the body attends to naturally. I'm just saying that it's well established, and anybody who takes a modicum of time and energy to research this and validate this from many, many ways, even on our own island. We have a big array in Popeye and Pipakio. There are people who've gone knocking doors, finding out and monitoring.
Please summarize your
To summarize, okay. There are plenty of examples on our own island of medical harm, due to proximity to radio and cell phone towers,
Thank you.
cancers, and a whole
Thank
bunch
you.
of other things. Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you for letting me testify.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the testifier? No, thank you so much. Next testifier, please.
We have someone that just joined, April Lee.
April, hi, I can see you. I need to swear you in if you weren't here earlier. Can you hear me? You need to unmute. You're muted. Can you unmute? April? April, can you press the unmute button?
Okay, got it.
Can you- There.
Yes,
okay.
I agree
Can you
totally.
raise your right hand and can I swear you in? Yeah, to
Yes.
tell the truth today in front of the Leeward Planning Commission.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Will you just state your name and the town you live in, and you have 3 minutes for your testimony.
Okay, my name is April Lee, and I have a good person that also would like to share some of my time, if that's okay.
No,
And her name, pardon?
I don't know. Huh? No, they have to.
That's not okay, okay.
The
Well,
other
thank you.
people sign up separately, but you have 3 minutes yourself.
Okay. Well, we tried to have that done. She's not a cyber person at all. So,
Okay, I can't see you anymore. You have
I don't
3
know
minutes
why.
to testify on the agenda item.
Do you want me to restart the time?
Yes. I think
Okay, thank you. Start the timer.
so.
My concern is that the Planning Commission, my name is April Lee. I'm from Hawaii, Hawaii, North Kohala.
Thank you.
And we are from an area here where upon our ground walked great kahuna that were able to actually mend bones and heal the sick. And my concern is that as honorable members, that you were appointed to a position to represent our health and pretty much the rule of government would be the golden rule. And the purpose of government would be to make sure that we are protected on all levels. And with that only job of protection in the confines of the golden rule, having the planning director take over our fate, our sovereign right to determine what is the health of our bodies. And I have been in genetics since 1966 when I won at a high school science fair. I know how much the things that are going on today have usurped the very identity of one's own genetic bloodline and right of dharma. We call it dharma, which is your spiritual path. And many people are on different levels of evolution. I do decree that it would not be someone who wasn't an angel in our minds that would be able to be the director.
We can hear you well. Just take a breath and talk to us, okay?
I am,
Okay.
but I, like I said, the director would have to have some, celestial entrance into our lives to be able to say, like, I have the right to determine what is your right
Excuse me,
under
I'm
these
just gonna, April.
wireless corporations.
April, you can talk
Yes.
about the agenda item. You can't single out somebody, and for us, that's not our way here. So you talk to us about what you feel or what you think about what you're bringing to the table about this agenda item for us.
It is a very deep soul identity question though, ma'am, because the director is in number 4 is actually
I
taking up
cannot
the
take your
planning commission.
testimony if you can't use the decorum to be respectful and appreciate what is happening here. So this is just our little rules and our guidelines that we have. And I just ask you to respect them. We do want to hear from you, but it needs to be focused on the agenda item.
The agenda item number 4 gives the director the right to negotiate with the wireless companies. And I have sent you 14 pages of the danger of wireless and
Speak into your
5G.
mic. Speak into your mic.
The effects of fetal and newborn development by 5G have been documented by peer-reviewed, and I've sent you 14 pages of these, nothing but links to scientific data that prove that we have absolute health risks, including a lot of the men on your panel who have risks of reproductive freedom and reproductive viability, women, especially gestating women, effects of young children by electromagnetic fields, pulse radio frequency radiation, and epigenetics, and from wireless technologies, and it does affect children's development. I've worked with autistic children and severely handicapped children, and I can tell you this is the last thing they need. We also know that these high frequency emanations cause brain tumors. I have been trained in ham radio. I'm a general licensed, not just a tech licensed ham radio operator. And a lot of the training for the general license includes being
Summarize.
warned about high frequency emanations from your ham station. Thank you very much for listening to me. Although
Thank you,
I do
April.
feel, thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, and your friend Suzanne Sutton, did she want to speak?
Oh, she would certainly like to.
Well, she can. She signed up to speak. So if you can put her there and turn the video back on, we can hear from your friend.
Okay.
Okay. Did she get sworn in before? Suzanne,
What's her name?
Suzanne Sutton, did I swear you in before? I'm sorry.
No.
No, so
No.
Suzanne, I just need you to raise your right hand and swear that you'll tell the truth today in front of the Leeward Planning Commission.
I do.
I do. Okay. And then just state your name and the town you live in, and you have 3 minutes. Just,
I'm Suzanne Sutton. I live in Kapa'au in North Kohala on the Big Island.
thank you. You have 3 minutes now.
I oppose the planning commissioner to take into his own hands my health. I have personally had a lot of illness and discomfort from all of this technology, all the wireless and everything that is over the top with radiation in our midst. It is not necessary. We can accomplish and do whatever people want in the technological world without these dangers. This is very bad for the environment, that all the animals and all of the people, we are all energy units. And it is totally against our complete healthy nature of ourselves. And for one person to have that authority is just mind-boggling. I mean, who sets themselves up for such a thing? Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers then on?
Okay.
Okay.
2 seconds here. Just,
So I want to
we
thank all,
have, yes, we have
one more.
Ela Javeri.
Ela, are you there?
Ela Javeri.
Turn your camera on.
Camera on.
Ela,
Turn your camera on now. Unmute.
you turn your camera on, unmute.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, yes, there you are. Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Please state your name and the town you live in, and you have 3 minutes to speak on the agenda item 4.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
My name is Ela Javeri. I live in Hawi on the Big Island in North Kohala, and I'm here to talk about the fact that I oppose item number 4, and I support Council Member Cindy Evans' Bill 194. Item 4 allows the approval to go through much too quickly without other people being involved in making a decision, without experts being involved, and where it can pass in just 30 days. And this is something that is really important to me, for it to be decisions to be made carefully. I once had many symptoms related to EMF exposure. I used to have a fluttering heart and chest pain and headaches, and heat in my chest, and a vibrating feeling, and also insomnia. And I was able to, I'm an acupuncturist and herbalist, and I've been practicing for 28 years. And so when I saw these symptoms beginning to develop, and I realized it was related to EMFs, I removed myself completely from EMF exposure, and I moved from Honolulu to the North Shore of Oahu and lived on a farm and had complete, I had no exposure to EMFs for a period of time, and I got to where I had no symptoms. And since then, I've been able to, by getting very limited exposure, I rarely have any symptoms at all, or most of the time, no symptoms. And I've helped a number of patients and friends to get rid of symptoms that they didn't realize were related to EMFs. I've helped patients with hot flashes and skin conditions, severe psoriasis where her whole body was burning at night and it kept her awake all night, where she was itching and red all over. And another person with hot flashes, and another person, a little girl with insomnia who would wake up repeatedly at night, and many other patients I've helped who didn't realize that they were having symptoms related to EMF
30
exposure.
seconds.
And so because of this, I support Bill 194, and I hope you will take what I'm saying seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. So is there any more testifiers?
Yes,
Okay.
we have Linda Ikeda. Linda Ikeda.
Linda, there you are. Okay. Hi, Linda. Will you state your name and the town you live in?
You need to unmute.
Oh, you have to
Linda.
unmute. There you go.
Okay.
Now we can hear you. Okay.
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 My name is Linda Ikeda. I live in Atascadero, California. I love visiting Big Island. I had an injury to the nerves of my sinuses and ears, which caused me to be very sensitive to Wi-Fi, all kinds of electromagnetic fields. Anyway, I love Big Island because of the lack of that, and there are so many alternatives. So I'm speaking regarding opposing item number 4. I support Council Member Cindy Evans' proposed telecommunications ordinance Bill 194. There needs to be provisions to protect people. This stuff is the new, it's a new cigarette of the 21st century. And we need to protect our children. They're particularly sensitive. They've found cognitive and developmental delays with them. Worldwide, where there's cell towers, there are clusters of cancer. And the people don't necessarily realize that that cell tower that they cannot feel, I can feel it in my sinuses where the injury was, but they cannot feel it. And so they don't know really what's going on. And so all over the world, so serious and careful consideration of the science needs to be respected. This is the cigarette of the 21st century. People, there's thousands and thousands of people, more and more people are becoming sensitive. They're beginning to feel it. I believe it's like 30% of the population already has symptoms that they don't understand is related to that. the EMFs, the wireless, etc. So people are looking for places. Keep the wired infrastructure. Do as little with the cell tower stuff. So anyway, I just want to oppose item 4 and support bill number 194. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Mr. Roy, any more testifiers?
The list is changing minute by minute, so let me make sure. For anybody at the beginning of the meeting, everybody else, it appears, except for a Michael Carrillo, who I don't see online. Everybody else will testify when the agenda item is called. So that's it for right now on Zoom.
Okay, thank you, testifiers. You can be logged out now of the Zoom platform, and you can switch to the YouTube channel if you want to watch the meeting. Okay, so we're going to move on now to new business. We have agenda items 1 and 2 that we're going to hear together, but we will take them separate for motions for action. So we have agenda item 1. The initiator is the planning director for Edward Rondal Raposa, formerly 8 Hoku Hall LLC, PDI 2024-000006, amend rezone 2009-00096. The planning director has initiated the repeal of the change of a zone ordinance number 10-2 and amendment to section 25-8-3 North Kona zone map, chapter 25, article 8 of the Hawaii County Code, the 1983, the 2016 edition as amended, by reverting the current zoning of the subject property from the single-family residential 10,000 square feet RS10 to an original agricultural 5 zoning district for approximately 14.437 acres of land. The subject parcel is located on the south side of Hualalai Road, approximately 0.6 miles east of its intersection with Queen Kahumanu Highway, Kahalui's 2nd North Kona, Hawaii TMK 37-5-017042. And agenda item number 2, initiator, planning director for Edward and Rondell Raposa, formerly Hokupal LLC, PLPDI 2024-000007, amend SLU 2009-000022. The planning director has initiated the repeal of the state land use district boundary ordinance number 10-1 and the state land use district boundary map by reverting the state land use boundary district from urban to its original designation of agricultural for approximately 14.437 acres of land. The subject parcel is located on the south side of Hualalai Road, approximately 0.6 miles east of its intersection with Queen Kahumanu Highway, Kahalui 2, North Kona, Hawaii TMK 37-5-017042. So we have a staff presentation by Ms. Andrews. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So as you stated, these are actually 2 applications, the repeal of the change of zone ordinance and the repeal of the state land use boundary ordinance. Here you see the location map showing the subject property with the red star. You can see that it's located just mauka of the highway there, and it's actually on Hualalai Road, which you'll see in a further detail in future slides. Can you scroll forward, please? Thank you. So the director is requesting a repeal of change of zone ordinance number 10-2 and state land use boundary ordinance number 10-1 in response to a written request submitted by the property owners, Edward and Rondal Raposa. So the repeal of both ordinance would reclassify the 14.437 acre property as follows. It would revert the zoning from the current single-family residential 10,000 square feet or RS10 zoning district to its original agricultural 5-acre A5A zoning district. And it would revert the state land use district classification from urban to its original classification of agricultural. The owners have stated that they want to establish a family farm and pursue long-term agricultural use on the property. You can see the county zoning map here, and as I stated, Hualalai is the road that's on the north or the top part of the slide there, just north of the property. And the property is shown as outlined in red. It's RS10 zoning, and it's surrounded to the north, west, and east by mostly agricultural zoning, and to the south by single-family residential and some commercial further south and west of the property. Next slide, please. The state land use boundary map shows you that the property is currently urban, as are most of the properties south and some west of the property. And it's mostly agricultural designation on all other sides of the property. And the subject property, according to the general map or the general plan LUPAG map, is urban expansion, as is all of the properties surrounding it immediately adjacent. There is important agricultural land and some low density urban and rural. Mauka and further closer to town in Kailua, there is some medium density urban. Next slide. And this aerial photograph shows you the current condition of the property, which is undeveloped. The property again is outlined in red. Just south, on that slide again, just south of the property, you can see here the subdivision that has been developed south of the property. North of the property and to the west, there are parcels that have been granted special permits for non-agricultural use, but primarily it's surrounded by agricultural, undeveloped and residential uses. So with that, the planning director's recommendations are first, to forward a favorable recommendation to the county council to repeal change of zone ordinance number 10-2. And second, to forward a favorable recommendation to the county council to repeal state land use boundary ordinance number 10-1. With that, I'll hand it back to the chair and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. So we have the applicant's presentation then? No, nobody had any questions. I don't think. Huh? No, yeah. No, were there questions? No, we're good. We're gonna do the applicants. Oh, that was it. Okay. So the applicant, we have any public testimony? No. So do we have anything from the applicant themselves?
Well, this is the planning director initiated action. So it's actually the landowner that is maybe what you're thinking of. But it's the director's action.
All right. So do any of the commissioners have any questions? No? Okay, so then we need and there's no public testimony.
Chair, we have one.
One? Oh, excuse me. On Zoom, we have one?
Yep, we have one on Zoom.
Okay. We have
Loy Chang Stroman. Please.
Lloyd, are you there? Can you turn your video on? Your camera on? And unmute? And then I'm just
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Can you see and hear me?
I can.
Thank you.
Chair, I think this gentleman is testifying on item 3. Actually, he's the applicant for item 3.
Oh, okay. So excuse us, we have a little more wait.
Sure. No
We're
problem.
not quite to you yet. So
Thank you. You
can
got
turn
it.
the video off right now. Thank you. We'll come back.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have no public testimony then that I can see. So we need a motion for action.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes. Commissioner
I'll make,
Kanuha.
I would move that a favorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council on application to repeal ordinance number 10-2, which will amend the current zoning to its original agricultural 5-acre A5A zoning PL-PDI 2024-00006. Amend REZ 2009-00096 based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Thank you. Need a
Second.
Commissioner Paishan Duarte. Okay, so we have a first and second. So we have it on the table. So some discussion then from the other commissioners or questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just really quick comment that I want to make. I do support this motion, but I am a little bit disappointed that, with the lack of housing that we do have, this particular development was on its way to provide housing for our community. And, every landowner has a right to try and do what they want to do with their land and go through the process. And, I admire the owners of the land to revert it back to ag because that's also important for our community, but we do need housing. So I just want to make that comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Au. Any other commissioners? No. So no other discussion. We're gonna take a roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is a favorable recommendation for the repeal of the rezone. Commissioner Kanuha,
Aye.
Commissioner Paishan Duarte. Aye. Commissioner Au,
Aye.
Commissioner De La Cruz,
Aye.
Commissioner Naborikawa,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Aye.
and Chair DeFranco.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. So now we're going to go on to, we need a motion for action for the second agenda item.
Yes, Chair. I'll make the motion. Please.
Commissioner Paishan Duarte.
Thank you. I move that a favorable recommendation be forwarded to the County Council on the application to repeal ordinance number 10-1, was that 101? To revert the state land use boundary district from urban to its original designation of agricultural. Docket number PL-PDI-2024-0000007. Amend SLU 2009-00022 based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Second.
And seconded. Okay, so we have Commissioner Paishan Duarte and seconded by Commissioner Kanuha. So now we have discussion. Anybody comment? I think my comment might be that I'm glad you're going to do something for your family and you are keeping it in agriculture, even though I agree with Commissioner Au that we do need more housing. That's a very true thing for us in Kona, but I like the commitment to agriculture. So I just wanted to say that. Is there any other discussion? Okay, so we're going to call for a vote then.
Thank you. This is a vote to repeal the state land use boundary designation. Commissioner Paishan Duarte. Aye. Commissioner Kanuha.
Aye.
Commissioner Au.
Aye.
Commissioner De La Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Naborikawa.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Aye.
And Chair DeFranco.
Aye.
And the motion passes with 7 votes.
Thank you. And you'll be notified by the commission's decision in writing. Thank you. So we're going to introduce agenda item number 3 now. The applicant is Dr. Lloyd Chang Strawman, PLREZ 2024-000061. Application for a change of zone from a single-family residential 10,000 square feet RS10 zoning district to a neighborhood commercial 10,000 square feet CN10 zoning district for 16,161 square feet of land. The subject property is located at 77-311 Sunset Drive at the northeast corner of this intersection with Kuakini Highway, Holualoa 4, North Kona, Hawaii, TMK 7-7-009-008. And we're going to have a staff presentation by Ms. Andrews. Hello.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Okay, so this is a rezone application for Dr. Lloyd Chang Stroman. Thank you. The subject property, again, it is shown with a red star. It is located just south of Kailua Kona Town, just Mauka of Kuakini Highway. Next slide, please. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from a single-family residential 10,000 square feet zoning district to a neighborhood commercial 10,000 square foot zoning district for 16,161 square feet of land. The applicant is a medical doctor specializing in internal medicine at the existing urgent care of Kona, and his wife is a dermatologist practicing at the existing dermatology medical facility, and both clinics are on the subject property. The requested change of zone will allow for expanded services and opportunities at these clinics beyond the restrictions allowed by the subject property's existing use permit. Let's go backwards. Additionally, the applicant proposes to convert 500 square feet of the existing building into a durable medical equipment retail service. And here on the county zoning map, you can see the subject property outlined in red. It's there at the corner of Sunset Drive and Kuakini Highway. And there's a variety of zoning, existing zoning. You can see there's single-family residential primarily surrounding the property. There is CN10 commercial zoning just north of the property along Kuakini Highway. And across the property, there is multifamily residential, and there is another density of the neighborhood commercial, the CN 7.5. And south of the property, or a little further south of the property, it's agricultural properties, agricultural zoning. And the state land use is primarily urban in this area with some agricultural designation south of the property. And the general plan LUPAG map shows that the property is medium density urban, as is most of the area. And then there is some lower density urban, which is primarily residential, and to the south, it's urban expansion. Here you see the applicant's site plan, and it shows you the property is pretty built out. The medical facility is shown here, and the remainder of the property is parking and access drive with very limited landscaping kind of along the buffer zone of the highway and the Sunset Drive here. The access driveway is up on the upper end of Sunset Drive. And there are some retaining walls, but this essentially documents what is existing at the property. And this is the floor plan showing the main reason to include this is to show the new, looking for, I think the existing floor plan will remain primarily as the same with the new retail. I'll let the applicant explain where it was. I thought it was actually in here, but I'll let the applicant go into detail where the retail will be located. And the aerial photograph shows you that the property is fairly built out. It shows the existing medical center with the existing parking and access drive. And this shows you one thing to note here is the configuration of the striping on Kuakini. There are turn lanes, designated turn lanes into Sunset Drive and exit turn lanes from Sunset Drive. Sunset Drive is a residential road, and the existing access is located to the east side of the property there. And here you see Sunset Drive looking east and Sunset Drive looking west. A view from Sunset Drive showing the existing medical facility. And these are views on the upper portion of the slide and lower portion of the slide. You can see the view of the property from Kuakini Highway, looking across and seeing the configuration of the various turn lanes there. And the planning director's recommendation is a favorable recommendation with conditions. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? No, we hear the applicant's presentation. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Naborikawa.
Thank you, Chair. So what are the current and proposed hours of operation?
I will let the applicant address specific
Okay.
proposed hours of
Okay.
operation.
I'll keep my questions for the applicant then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Can we get the applicant to come forward then? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, you're there on Zoom. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
That's Dr. Loy.
I am Lloyd Chung Stroman.
Okay. And Darren. Okay, so I can get you both to swear you in. I'm just going to swear you in to tell the truth today in front of the Leeward Planning Commission.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Yeah, well, he does, I'm sure. So you're going to go ahead and do the presentation? Yes, okay.
Good morning, Chair DeFranco, Vice Chair Paishan Duarte, and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Darren Arai. I'm a land use planning consultant assisting the applicant, Dr. Chung Stroman, with this change of zone request. I currently reside in Hilo. Joining me today is via Zoom is Dr. Stroman, who would love to have been here and appear before all of you in support of his request. But being a single practitioner, it would mean shutting down the urgent care facility. And, as much as he wants to be here, he also wants to be present for his clients. So I hope you understand.
We do. And you've received all the background and recommendation reports from the planning department?
Yes, we have. We've reviewed it with the applicant and doctor is agreeable to the proposed conditions.
Thank you.
So we appreciate the thoughtful analysis of the change of zone request, as well as the favorable recommendation from the planning director and the proposed conditions of approval. The request, as staff has indicated during the presentation, is straightforward. It's just to allow for greater flexibility in the operations of the medical clinic, which currently exists of an urgent care on the bottom level and corona dermatology on the second level. But when you take a step back, the use permit that allowed for the establishment of this medical facility was issued in 1988. The medical facility has been operational for about 34 years. They have demonstrated to be not only a good neighbor, but a much needed service within the Kona community. There's a point when 34 years ago, the Planning Commission at the time felt that this was an appropriate land use in this particular area. And I think taking it to the next step by designating it to a commercial zoning district is an appropriate next step, especially when it falls back upon providing greater flexibilities and opportunities for additional medical services. If you take a further step back, the zoning map that you saw earlier during the presentation clearly showed that not only is it a right use on the property, but it's also a right zoning pattern. You have commercial uses in close proximity on both sides of the highway. The project site also is situated within an area of both single family and multiple family residential uses. So you do have an established residential community in the immediate area. And this providing for, again, support for this rezoning and enhanced medical opportunities will serve that broader residential community. So with that, we appreciate your support of this change of zone request. And if there's any, we understand that there were questions regarding operational hours. If that can be directed to Dr. Stroman.
Thank you, Mr. Arai.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have some questions? Commissioner Noborikawa?
Yes, I have some questions for Dr. Chang Stroman.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Doctor, for your service to the community. So I wanted to know what the current hours of operation are and what your proposed hours of operation will be.
Yeah, thank you very much for allowing me to speak and taking consideration of this. Right now, we're open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on weekend Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And, for the urgent care in terms of expansion, Saturday to 4 p.m. I don't imagine that we're ever going to be open on Sundays, but primarily the extended hour will be just several more hours on Saturday.
So basically 3 more hours on Saturday is what you're proposing. Okay.
That's correct. Just consistent with the 8 to 5 schedule. We'll go from 9 to 4. Yes.
And in terms of the visiting specialists, is there going to be like a schedule like once a week, 5 days a week, or as needed based on your patient's needs for care?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. We used to have a plastic surgeon that came from Honolulu. It used to come on a once or twice monthly basis to take care of the people who normally would have to fly over. And, it's not our thought to make this like a medical center. I think that, it depends on obviously the ability of the practitioners that come, the need for the services. But, it'll be along the lines of once a week, a couple of times a month for just specialized care like plastic surgery or Mohs surgery or neurologists or, whatever subspecialists we're able to have come visit us.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. My final question on the durable medical equipment, is that going to require any physical changes to the building or just maybe moving some chairs out of the corner of the waiting room and putting the equipment there?
Yeah, and thank you for asking. Right now, if you needed a wheelchair, there's no place to get it other than at Walmart or places. And so it was difficult for us practitioners just to even get seniors or things. And so, literally, we're just talking about just moving, having one of the rooms a little open and just having some, of those things that are there. It won't be a retail store with signs or anything. It'll be a very small operation with a small number of items, as you mentioned.
Okay, so basically there'll be no need for additional parking or anything like that.
Absolutely. We can't imagine more than 1 or 2 service calls a day. In other words, for just, very specialized needs.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the questions from the other commissioners? No. Oh, yes.
I have a question, but
Commissioner Rodriguez.
it's not to the doctor. I was just curious if, if you rezone hit this one to, is it gonna affect the rest of the residential? Are their taxes gonna skyrocket, for the rest of the residents, residential there?
So this is a question to the planning director, maybe Zendo commission,
A change of zone like this, in our observation in an area that already has an existing settlement pattern like this, it already has that existing use. I don't see that being a big uplift in values, not to mention if you have property owners, there, they are homeowner class, they're locked in to a maximum of 3% increase as well. So there's protections in place.
thank you. Any commissioners, any other question?
I have one
Commissioner
more question,
Napolitano,
Chair
yes.
DeFranco. This is either for Director Kern or Planner Andrews. So the original use permit had a restriction on operating hours. Is that something that Planning Department has done away with since 1988?
I think I can get into that. So, usually when you have a use permit or special permit, you get very specific on that, right? So a use permit within a residential zone, you could allow for a medical facility. And within that application request, you'll generally set hours, similar to a special permit. When you move into more of a change of zone and that zoning allows it, you move out of the specificity of those hours, and they basically have the ability to operate underneath that zoning. But you'll typically see hours of operation and very specific conditions when it comes to a use permit or a special permit.
Thank you. So, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Thank you, Doctor. So we have one public testimony now. William Meikle, Hi, just please sit down. Will you turn the mic on for him? Thank you. Okay, just
Morning, men.
raise your hand for me and swear to tell the truth today before the Leeward Planning Commission.
I do.
Okay, just go ahead and.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the commission staff. My name is William Milkey. I've submitted written testimony. I did want to just come to the hearing this morning to supplement that by supporting the overwhelming need for the service that Dr. Stroman is planning to add to his practice. As I stated in my letter, we only have one visiting Mohs surgeon in Kona, and he comes once a month for a week and addresses the needs of all of the patients requiring that service from various doctors in the area. Having a Mohs surgeon come and be able to attend to the patients from Dr. McElroy's practice in their office would be just a tremendous benefit to those of us to all patients, but those of us in particular who don't have the ability to go to Honolulu for the service. So I come to you this morning to ask your approval of this application that addresses an overwhelming need for the service in Kona. Thanks, Madam Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners? No, we really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Yeah, and personally, I just want to comment that it's a wonderful commitment to our community. So we need a motion for action, please.
Okay, I'll make
Commissioner Pashan Duarte.
Sure. I move that the favorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council on the application for change of zone docket number PL-REZ 2024-000061 based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Need a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner De La Cruz. Okay. Commissioner Pashan Duarte and seconded by Commissioner De La Cruz. Do we have any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
a quick comment, and maybe, maybe further discussion. I appreciate the applicant, for what they're doing,
Yes.
changing it from a special use permit to a rezone, and it's very appropriate, like Mr. Rice said. But I just want to let the commission know that, the differences between special use permit and rezones. The special use of permit is very specific, right? And there's guidelines of what they can do. And special permits are done by us, right? By the commissions. You know, by rezoning, it goes to the county council, but in the proposed action on page 1, the intentions of the applicant is to continue his business, but at the same time, he can knock it down and build 12 residential units too. So, I just want the commission to know moving forward that, this is a rezone, and, the power of the special permit that was assessed back in 2010 or 1988, back then, right?
Use permit was 88.
Okay, it was back in 88. So now it's going to be a rezone. So now the developer has more, the landowner, the applicant has more options, is what I'm saying. So I just want the commission to know that. But I do support this motion. I appreciate the applicant and his intention and the services that he provides to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Au. Any other comments or discussion? Questions? No? Okay, we're going to go for a roll call vote then.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Pashan Duarte. Aye. Commissioner De La Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Au.
Aye.
Commissioner Kanuha.
Aye.
Commissioner Nobukawa.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Aye.
And Chair DeFranco.
Aye.
And the motion passes with 7 votes.
Thank you. Thank you. And you'll be notified by the commission at decision in writing. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Really.
thank you for your service for our community.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, director. Can I make one brief comment?
Yes.
I just wanted to recognize a gentleman who testified, Mr. Milky. Those of you who don't know him, he was formerly with Mauna Kea Properties for many years, but he was also a planning commissioner and served as its chairman many years ago. So, and he
Thank
was a
you.
wonderful chairman, as you are, Chair DeFranco. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
So we're going to take a brief recess for 15 minutes. No. Can we?
Yes. Mahalo.
All right.
Vice Chair.
Right, good job.
Oh, it's like-
Good afternoon. Are the commissioners ready? Okay, staff, advisors, everybody. All right, so we're just going to call the meeting back to order. It is 11:01. We are going to introduce agenda item number 4. The initiator is the planning director, PLPDI 2024-000008. The planning director has initiated an ordinance to amend Chapter 25 zoning, Article 2, Article 4, Article 5, and Article 7 of the Hawaii County Code 1983, 2016 edition as amended, relating to telecommunication antennas and towers. The purpose is to remove the requirement for a use permit to establish telecommunication antennas and towers in certain zoning, districts, add application requirements, and amend standards for the establishment of telecommunication antenna and towers. So we're going to have a staff presentation by Ms. Camaro. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Leeward Planning Commission. Before you today, we have the Planning Director initiated bill related to telecommunication antennas and towers, which is proposed amendments to Chapter 25, Article 2, Article 4, Article 5, and Article 7 of the Hawaii County Code 1983, 2016 edition as amended. So okay, my apologies. Let me get this back up. Okay. Perfect. So the effect of this bill is to remove the requirement for a use permit to establish telecommunication antennas and towers in certain zoning districts, as well as add plan approval application requirements and amend standards for the establishment of telecommunication antennas and towers. So again, the purpose, the zoning code currently requires the issuance of a use permit to construct and operate telecommunication antennas and/or towers in certain zoning districts. This process includes review and approval by the planning commissions, which are allowed 90 days to commence a public hearing on a use permit application and an additional 60 days thereafter to render a decision on the request. Use permit applications heard by the planning commissions are subject to contested case hearings. Should the planning commissions grant standing to a contested case petitioner, the subsequent contested case process can take a significant amount of additional time. Meanwhile, HRS section 46-89 requires that all broadband related permits be either approved with modifications, or denied within 60 days of receiving a completed application. To comply with this state statute, the planning director is amending the zoning code to ensure that the review and processing of permits for telecommunication towers and antennas meet these legal requirements based on a legal opinion and recommendation from the Hawaii Corporation Council. So this is just a timeline. In 1996, the Hawaii County Council adopted Ordinance 96-160, which defined and regulated telecommunication antennas and towers. Ordinance number 96-160 required the issuance of a use permit for telecommunication antennas and towers on land zone RS, RD, RM, and RCX, while permitting them in land zone RA, FA, A, IA, V, CN, CG, CV, MCX, ML, MGO, and the CDH. In 2007, prior to 2007, a special permit was required for telecommunication antennas and towers within the state land use agricultural district. Act 171, which was passed in 2007, however, permitted the construction and operation of wireless telecommunication antennas and towers within the state land use agricultural district without the issuance of a special permit by the Planning Commission. Therefore, in between 2010 and 2011, due to Act 171 removing the requirement for a special permit, the Hawaii County Council adopted ordinance number 1017 to require the issuance of a use permit by the Planning Commission for telecommunication antennas and towers on land zone RA, FAA, and IA by the county. In 2011, the Hawaii County Council went further and adopted ordinance number 11-25, which required a use permit for telecommunication antennas and towers to be located within the O zone district, and this aimed to align with the intent of the open zone district. Continuing the timeline, in 2013, Act 264, which later became known as HRS 46-89, mandated that all counties act on all broadband-related permits within 60 days of a complete application. Despite the proceeding, there's no subsequent update that was made to the Hawaii County Code to address the change. However, in 2003, a use permit application for a telecommunication tower facility was heard by the Leeward Planning Commission on December 7, 2023. In addition, a petition for a standing in a contested case hearing was filed for the application. The Leeward Planning Commission voted to grant the petition for standing. After standing was granted, the applicant's representative requested a determination on whether the commission's actions was at odds with the timeframes in state law for taking action on a broadband-related permit. As a result of this request, the Corporation Council provided the Planning Department with a legal opinion on December 27, 2023. In that legal opinion, they opined that based on the Hawaii Revised Statute, Section 46-89, telecommunication antenna and tower use permit applications are not subject to a contested case hearing. The permit was then issued, and the Corporation Council had advised the Planning Department to make necessary revisions to the Hawaii County Code. So in response to Corporation Council's advice, the Planning Department is transitioning the approval process for telecommunication facilities from a use permit issued by the Planning Commission in a public forum to a plan approval that is issued by the Planning Director. We have drafted this bill to incorporate the most common feedback heard over the past 28 years, which include visual impacts with measures to mitigate where we can possibly mitigate them, proper setbacks and siting requirements, and health concerns, while also recognizing that federal law prohibits the county from denying a telecommunications tower permit based on health concerns. Additionally, the bill incorporates new standards that were created from standard conditions from prior use permits that were issued by the planning commissions, as well as other best management practices. I apologize, you can't see the, yes. So the proposed amendments. So the first off, section 25-261A is proposed to be amended as follows, which basically shows the removal of the telecommunication antennas and towers from the use permit category. In effect, we have also proposed to amend section 25-412A, which now states that a telecommunication antenna or tower shall be permitted in all zoning districts, provided that the antenna, tower, and its use are not hazardous or dangerous on the surrounding area, and the director has issued plan approval for such use. The reasons for this amendment is necessary to expedite the development of telecommunication infrastructure by removing the requirement for use permits and to comply with the 60-day action requirement found in HRS 46-89. In addition, the proposed amendments to section 25-412A is proposed to be amended as followed on your screen. It allows for co-location of antennas upon an existing privately owned tower, and expansion of related support equipment within the project site is permitted and encouraged, provided the director has issued a plan approval for the existing tower. The ground lease areas of the co-locating carriers must be adjacent to the existing ground lease area and not located within the open yard setback areas. And the co-location must not result in a substantial change as defined by the Federal Communications Commission. Co-location that results in a substantial change to the tower height or ground lease area as defined by the Federal Communication Commission will require the issuance of a new plan approval. So the reasons for this amendment, this is quite substantial. The planning director is encouraging co-location in an effort to improve the coverage and capacity in the high demand areas while reducing the need for additional towers and expediting the approval process. A new plan approval will be required if co-location results in a substantial change as defined by the Federal Communications Commission, Section 6409A of the Spectrum Act. According to the FCC, a modification is deemed substantial if it involves a height increase of more than 10% or one additional antenna array up to 20 feet for towers outside of public right-of-ways, or more than a 10% or 10 feet for towers within public right-of-ways and base stations, a width increase of more than 20 feet or a width of the tower structure for towers outside of public right-of-ways, or more than 6 feet of towers within public right-of-ways and base stations. It also includes the installation of more than 4 new equipment cabinets or 1 new equipment cabinet if no pre-existing cabinets or ground cabinets, increasing by more than 10% in the size of towers within public right-of-ways and base stations. Any excavation or deployment outside of current property boundaries or modifications that defeat existing concealment elements and non-compliance with prior conditions of approval unless due to specified changes. In addition, Section 25412C is proposed to be added as followed. The first being that the minimum lot size for the placement of any telecommunication tower within the agricultural, FA, IA, and O zoning district shall be 5 acres. The minimum lot size for the placement of any telecommunication tower within the RS, RD, RM, and RA zoning district shall be 1 acre. And there shall be no minimum lot size required for the placement of telecommunication towers within the V, CN, CG, CV, MCX, ML, MG, and CDH zoning districts. The minimum lot size may be reduced upon finding that the issuance of a variance by the director will not result in adverse impacts, including but not limited to noise, light, glare, visual, drainage, or other detrimental effects to the adjacent property. In addition, Section 25412D is proposed to be added as followed. Telecommunication tower shall be set back from any property line with a minimum distance equal to 120% of the tower height as measured from the ground level. Telecommunication towers must be sited at least 1,200 feet from nearby residences and schools not on the subject property. And 3, telecommunication towers located within the commercial or industrial zoning districts shall be exempt from the property line setback requirements that are stated in the proposed Section 25412D1. So the reasons for these amendments, these are all necessary site improvements such as setback and minimum lot sizes. The only requirement currently in the code is a setback for telecommunication facilities from the property line. And I'll go further into that in the next slide. So for example, the current zoning code would require a 100-foot tower to be set back from the property line, a minimum of 20 feet. With the changes proposed in Section 25412D3, a tower would now be required to be set back a minimum of 120 feet. So on your screen, we have Section 25412B, which is proposed to be added as followed. You can see that there's a highlight. That highlight came from our Windward Planning Commission meeting that we had earlier in the month. And we just wanted to make that change to show it to you guys as it was recommended by our Windward Planning Commissioners. So this is being proposed to be added as followed, that telecommunication facilities that are developed by government agencies primarily to protect public health, safety, and welfare, including but not limited to facilities for police, fire, ambulance, and other emergency dispatch services, shall be exempt from the telecommunication tower requirements that are outlined in this chapter. This was proposed to aim to exempt telecommunication facilities that are developed primarily to protect the public health, safety, and welfare from the standard telecommunication tower requirements. Our staff had met with civil defense, fire, and police, and this was actually a recommendation that they had. Facilities supporting police, fire, ambulance, and other emergency dispatch services are essential for the safety and well-being of the community. Exempting these facilities from certain requirements ensures that they can be established and maintained without unnecessary delays, ensuring that there is uninterrupted emergency services. Section 25412E is being proposed to be amended as follows, and it's the fencing and safety measures. Telecommunications towers must be enclosed by fencing with a minimum of 6 feet in height, and towers must be equipped with anti-climbing device.
This aims to add safety requirements that protect both the public and the tower facility, ensuring that ground equipment is securely enclosed and that the towers are safeguarded against potential unauthorized climbing risk. Section 25412G is being proposed to be added as follows. This is that the telecommunication antennas and towers shall comply with all applicable rules, regulations, and requirements of the affected agencies, including the Federal Aviation Administration and Federal Communications Commission. All exterior lighting except safety beacons required by the FAA shall be shielded to minimize impacts to migrating seabirds. This also ensures that towers and antennas meet the necessary regulatory standards that are set by the FAA and FCC, as well as enhancing safety and compliance. These statements are currently required as a part of our current use permit process, and we thought it was necessary to include it within this proposed amendment. Section 25412H is being proposed to be added as followed. This is to enhance wildfire detection and response capabilities. Telecommunication towers located in areas identified as high risk for wildfire activity may be required to provide space for a surveillance camera system designed to monitor and detect wildfire activity as a condition of final approval. High-risk wildfire activity areas shall be determined by the director in consultation with the relevant federal, state, and county emergency service agencies. This was really a request from fire, and it aims to enhance any wildfire detection and response capabilities by requiring tower developers to provide space for wildfire surveillance camera systems within their telecommunication towers, especially if they're going to be located within the high-risk areas. So section 25412J is being proposed to be added as follows, and that is that within 120 days of the permanent abandonment of a tower, the applicant shall remove the tower and its antenna and accessory structures, which include the equipment building and the fence, down to but not limited to but not including the concrete foundation. The applicant shall immediately provide written notification to the director of the termination of the telecommunication tower and related improvements, as well as the removal of all structures. This amendment is crucial to address concerns relating to the long-term impacts of abandoned telecommunication towers. This is also a standard condition in all of our current use permits that we have issued for the telecommunication towers. These are the proposed amendments relating to the plan approval. Section 25274-2 is being proposed to be amended as follows. And that would include that building plans for the towers certified by licensed structural engineer, verifying that the tower at full build out, inclusive of all potential antennas and equipment, will have a hard survivability for sustained winds of 130 miles per hour. This aims to ensure that telecommunication towers are strong enough to handle future additions, as well as enhancing their long-term safety and reliability. Section 25274-5 is being proposed to be added as follows, and that includes that documentation demonstrating compliance with the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. Section 106 review has been completed for all towers that are going to be coming in for plan approval. Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act requires federal agencies to consider the potential impact of their actions on historic properties. Our current use permit application process requires a Section 106 compliance documentation, but as the use permit process will no longer be required for telecommunication towers and antennas, this amendment will ensure that compliance with federal law will continue as part of the plan approval process. Section 25274-7 is being proposed to be added as follows, and that is that a statement providing the reasons for the location, design, and height of the proposed tower or antennas, and the efforts made to meet with the adjacent landowners and their community regarding the development. This amendment is essential to promote responsible development practices that consider community preferences and minimize potential impacts on surrounding properties. By requiring a comprehensive statement on the location rationale, design considerations, and outreach efforts, it enhances the public trust to facilitate a more informed decision-making and promote the integration of telecommunication infrastructure in a manner that will respect the surrounding properties. In addition, the following are being proposed to be added in section 25274-6 and 8. The first being that to ensure that proposed telecommunication facilities are sited in a way that maximizes co-location opportunities, minimizes visual and environmental impacts, encourages efficient use of existing infrastructure. And as you can see, this part is highlighted because this was also added from our Windward Planning Commission and their recommendations, and includes maps showing the coverage areas. Section 25.274.6 is proposed to be added, which will require a report on specific siting opportunities. And to ensure that telecommunication antennas and towers are sited and designed in a manner that minimizes visual impacts on the surrounding community and landscape, Section 25.274.8 is added to require a comprehensive visual impact analysis and mitigation measures. I think this is one of the biggest topics that I do want to recommend a full discussion on, because there has been testimony that has stated that we are only requiring 30 days. However, in Section 25.276D3, it is being proposed to be amended as follows, and that will require that for a telecommunication antenna or tower, the director shall render a decision to either approve or deny the plan approval application within 60 days after acceptance of the application, in accordance with the Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 46-89. If the director fails to render a decision within the timeframe specified by the Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 46-89, the application shall be considered approved without further certification by the director. This amendment is necessary to enhance the efficiency and accountability in the planning approval process. Moreover, the provision for automatic approval if deadlines are not met encourages proactive review and timely decision-making by the director, which reinforce our transparency and responsiveness in our regulatory procedures. That concludes my presentation. The planning director right now is suggesting that we forward a favorable recommendation to the county council. Thank you.
That was a lot of words there. Okay, so do we have any questions for the staff or director?
Yes,
Oh,
Madam Chair, just quick question.
Commissioner Al?
So the highlighted, in your PowerPoint presentation, the highlighted items is what the Windward Planning Commission added. And there was only 2 items, right?
Yes, it was what they actually recommended. The Windward Planning Commission their motion was to defer the item until October,
Continue.
so that we
Continue.
could include our fire, civil defense, and police agencies.
What do you mean include them? You mean have them, include them in?
Have them come to our meeting and attend our meeting.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Nobukawa?
Thanks for your presentation. So I was questioning that 30-day thing as well in the testimony, but I did find it in the document under 25.276D. In the main paragraph, there was a small phrase that was added. Well, is this what we're talking about here? This thing that was in our packet this morning?
Yes, that is our edited Exhibit 2A of the ordinance.
Okay, so if you look on page 6, under paragraph D, there was a small section added that says, or any telecommunication antenna or tower, and then you can see where the 30 days came from. So that is, that's in contradiction to paragraph 3 lower on that you did put in your presentation. Which one would prevail since they're different dates or timeframes?
The wording for the D is actually, it is very confusing. However, it does state that the director shall render a decision to either approve or deny a plan approval application other than for an agricultural tourism facility, any special district with adopted design guidelines and or standards, or any telecommunication antenna or tower within 30 days.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Thank you.
Did that clarify?
Yes, that did clarify. I have another question though.
Yeah.
The HRS 4689, in terms of that 60-day, rendering the decision within 60 days, was there specifically after acceptance of a completed application or just an application?
The 60 days would be after a completed application.
Okay, and did we want ours to be consistent with that? Because right now it doesn't say completed.
You could make that recommendation. Right now, it does state that after acceptance of the application, we would have 60 days. Typically, acceptance of an application means that the application has been completed and is thorough before the planning director has accepted the application.
Okay, thank you.
Director Kern, did you want to comment on that? No, okay. Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes, I have a couple of questions that are not very easy. They're not hard. How many antennas are there on the island, and what's the projection that we're gonna need, and is there any technology that that's gonna make the antennas obsolete in the near future?
I'll take that question. We don't have that information.
Oh,
Commissioner Rodriguez, you have another question?
No, that was just my question, what, if there's been any studies, to see how many antennas we're gonna need in the future, since we're trying to pass this, if this is really,
So what we're actually trying to do here is fix an issue and a really big challenge. And I think what it's getting kind of framed as is around telecommunication antennas, whether we want them or we don't want them, and that's not the case. The case is about process and creating a process that has a level of certainty. And so right now, when we accept the complete application, we have 60 days to approve it, deny it, or approve it with modifications. That poses great risk. So for example, if we accept the application, we get it moving forward, and then let's say one of the planning commissions doesn't have quorum, meaning we can't meet, and it exceeds that 60-day time period, it's approved. No conditions, no nothing. And so this is really an effort to create that level of certainty on process, to protect the community, to give the community a level of certainty, the telecommunication operators a level of certainty on their application process. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to fix an issue that was really derived from 4689.
but, my concern is if, there's a future technology that, that's gonna replace the antennas,
Is this a question? Are you
yes,
asking a question?
yes, and I was just a question if there was been any inquiries into future technology that we might, replace the antennas instead of needing the antennas. That's a question to the.
We're not aware of any future technology that's going to replacing it. I think there's conversations about the different levels of 5G, 6G, 7G, all of those things, but we're not aware of any technology from any of the operators that we've talked to or anybody from the public that we're aware of that's something that would replace that. Doesn't mean that there isn't. We just don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Vice Chair Dort.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Franco. Director Kern, thank you for the explanation. I have two questions. The first is proposed amendment, section 25-4-12D. Item 2, telecommunication towers must be sited at least 1,200 feet, which is an increase, correct? I just had a question of why 1,200 feet? What's the rationale behind?
We looked at other jurisdictions and kind of some best management practices around these. It's not something that's set in stone. So we try to look at what other folks are doing and try to get a rationale from what seems to have worked as well as the perception of what might work. And so that's where we're coming up. But there's a better number, we're open to it, but that's what we've seen other jurisdictions do.
And just to confirm, it's an increased, right? There's a total.
It's an increase, as well as that would also account for the property. If there was a school, you couldn't place it on the school, as we've had some testimony say, that would include that particular parcel as well.
Thank you. My second question regards section 25-4-12H. I like the idea of including surveillance camera system for high risk to monitor possibility for wildfire. My question is, once that, who's actually gonna access the cameras to make a determination whether, so who's gonna manage all the input and the data to actually conduct the intended services, which is to hopefully mitigate wildfire?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So when we're talking with the fire chief around this, they're looking at the potential to have maybe a contract with somebody, maybe they provide the service. They don't have that figured out right now, who's actually going to operate and man this service. What was necessary was, though, the provision that when an application is going through, that the fire department and fire chief would have the ability to look at it and say, hey, this is one of the towers that we'd really need something. Let's preserve a spot on there. And that would then allow for the future utilization of the technology when they figure out how to procure it, how to fund it, et cetera. But we're not quite there yet. This is really just setting up that framework to allow that to happen.
Mahalo. Commissioners, any more questions? We're going to have time to talk more too as we proceed, but we have some public testimony on Zoom. Mr. Roy?
Yes, Chair, we have 3 testifiers when you're ready.
Okay.
We're gonna do them one at a time, just the mass swearing in really doesn't work.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
fine.
the first one is Kalei Kalakini.
Hello, Colette. You turn your video on. There you go. Can you raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth to the Leeward Planning Commission? Say yes.
Yes,
Oh, you have to unmute. I can't hear you.
I unmute.
I can't.
She's unmuted, but
You're
I'm
unmuted to us, but you're push the button. Push a button. There you go. No, still can't hear you.
I unmuted. I'm unmuted.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm not on mute. I unmuted.
Do you want to,
I'm not on mute. I unmuted. Something's wrong on your side.
can't hear you.
Your side.
we can't hear
Can
you.
you turn your volume up maybe? on
Can
the
you turn your
computer?
volume up? Maybe,
I am.
can she call in by phone or
No, it's not that.
Okay. So we can take the other 2 testifiers. Maybe you turn on and off your machine or something and it would reboot it. What do you think?
The other testifiers just said they can hear.
Okay, we just can't hear her. Okay.
Let's
Now try
somebody
again.
else.
We're gonna try, oh, there.
Does it work?
No. I'm sorry, I can't.
Does it work?
No, still can't hear you. We're gonna move on to the 2 other testifiers and we'll come back to you one more time, okay? So you hold on there. We'll try one more time. Let's go on to the next person.
The next person is Chris Arose.
Chris, will you turn on your video? Chris, can you turn on your video? Hi, Chris.
Oh, there's something.
So we can't hear you either. Can you say something? So we.
Hello.
So this is, I have to apologize. We try to provide this service. These are in-person meetings and we do try to provide this to happen, but
Your side, yeah.
in a technical difficulty.
Yep.
We're gonna try to fix it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's your side. Not
Hello.
us. I can hear you, Chris,
I can hear you also.
but they can't hear us.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Kind of strange. But I can hear you. I can see you and I can hear you, so I don't know, because I unmuted. I'm unmuted.
Want to speak?
Yes.
It's,
No.
Can you say something?
I can say something.
No, still can't.
This is Calais. You say something, Chris.
Hello. Hello? Kukua.
It's the Zoom host. The Zoom host is on mute. The Zoom host is on mute. Chris, take a look. Up in the corner, the Zoom host is on mute. Can you see on the top?
Oh, no, I think that's what we did last time.
But she's talking, I
Okay.
still can't.
Did you do them?
I can't.
This is Calais.
Zoom host is on mute.
Hey, yeah, yeah.
Oh, are you on mute? Did you mute yours? Because you're the host.
We're not on mute.
No.
You were on mute. Oh,
I
well.
don't know.
Do you want a 5-minute recess so we can try to figure this out, or do you want to continue on?
Funny, it worked this morning.
Okay, so we're going to take a
Oh.
5-minute recess while we try to fix the Zoom.
Yeah, it worked this morning.
We're working on it.
Yeah, it worked this morning. We listened to all the Hilo. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes.
Wow. We heard Kevin and all of them this morning, so it worked in the morning. Maybe it's on a lunch break or something. It's almost lunchtime.
Okay, keep talking. We could hear you. Can you talk?
Hello?
Yes.
Yep, we've got you now. So we're going to go back to, what's the woman's name? Calais. Calais, can you say something?
Hi, my name is Calais.
Thank you. We're there. We're going to proceed now. We're out of recess and we're reconvening now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Calais. So raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth before the Leeward Planning Commission. Say
I do.
And then state your name and the town you live in, and you have 3 minutes.
Aloha, my name is Calais Ka'ilikini Hilo. I represent my family, Ka'ilikini Purdy. I'm opposed to the planning directors amending Chapter 25 to remove the requirement for permits by the telecommunications companies. A study was done, the Maui honey creeper, Kivikio, on Maui. October 2019, the Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project study, it was done by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the state of Hawaii DLNR. So what they did is they took 10 kiwi keels, put the VHF, very high frequency transmitters, on their legs. 7 died. 3 were found alive. And the 3 that were found alive somehow pecked off or disabled the VHF transmitters. So that was October 27th, October 30th, between that time. Then prior to that, October 17, they took a wild kivikio. These guys are all, labeled. They attached a VHF transmitter. And on October 29, the strong and healthy kivikio, as soon as the transmitter was attached, he hopped on the ground, he stayed still, and half an hour later, he tucked his head under his wing, and the bird recovery staff removed the transmitter, but he did not recover. He sat quietly on his perch and was found dead the next morning. It happened again to a second bird, wild number 10. These are labels, attaching a transmitter. But she ferociously attacked the harness that was holding the transmitter, and she bit it apart. She removed it. So the bird recovery team put a new transmitter on her. She was lethargic, not eating, and she was fluffed and inactive. And October 31, she was found dead. 6 days, a Hawaiian indigenous bird died. Canary in the coal mine. 2019, our Hawaiian indigenous birds, kivikio, died, sounding the alarm of electromagnetic dangers in Hawaii. Hundreds of studies are available. My grandniece, this is a human being, 19 years old, attending the Kamehameha schools, Honolulu, suffered 3 mild heart attacks. Yes, 3 mild heart attacks at age 19, diagnosed as myocarditis by a pediatric cardiologist on Maui. So there are tons of lawsuits. A woman sues AT&T, alleges cell tower caused 51 strokes. shortly after cell tower upgraded in 2019. And
Right.
another lawsuit, very important, very important. The FCC was sued and it was told by the District of Columbia Circuit Court. Follow the mandates, follow the laws that are in place in the states for safety. They're not above the laws. They can't overrule us. It's important for our health. Please, please understand that electromagnetic frequencies are considered pollution and it's dangerous to our health and our birds, our indigenous birds. Follow them.
Thank
That's
you.
all I can say.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the testifier? No. Can we go on to the next testifier, please? Thank you, Kalei. Mahalo. What is his name, Mr. Roy?
We have Chris
Chris.
Rose.
Hi, Chris. Will you raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth in front of the Leeward Planning Commission?
So, my name is Chrissy Rossi, and I'm going to tell the truth.
Okay, thank you. And tell us the town you live in, Chris?
I live in Mountain View.
Mountain View, okay. You have 3 minutes, please.
What I'm going to do is have my testimony auto read so I can meet the 3 minutes.
Pardon me?
I'm going to have my testimony auto read so I can meet the 3 minutes.
Auto read, okay. Okay,
We want to start.
auto read. Wait. I can't hear it though, Chris. You
can't hear it?
No, we can't hear it, and you have 3 minutes. Well, 2.5 minutes.
5G radiation affects children most because they get a lifetime exposure and they're not fully developed. Why is it against federal law that prohibits cities from considering health impacts of power? I believe there's a ruling class and 5G is part of their multifaceted agenda. This ruling class owns at least part of the central banks all around the world. For example, the Federal Reserve is a privately owned central bank of the US. The Federal Reserve website says it pays dividends to its shareholders. Also, its income is exempt from taxes except from real estate. The ruling class central bank owners have decided us and our lifestyle are not sustainable, so they are reducing our population and impoverishing us. Our manufacturing has been outsourced to China, and our intelligence has been outsourced to AI. The ruling class doesn't need us anymore. A key family.
Is this your auto reading, but are you testifying about this bill that is here? It's
Yeah.
agenda number
Yes.
4.
Yes, because it's relevant, because what happens is it's part of the agenda it's part of a multifaceted agenda. Okay, a key family of the ruling class is the Rockefellers. Nelson Aldrich was the original sponsor of what became the Federal Reserve Act. His daughter was Abby Rockefeller. Event 201 was done in October 19, shows that the COVID pandemic was pre-planned and done on purpose. It's still online. One of the participants of Event 201 was former CIA Deputy Director Elver Haynes. She is now the Director of National Intelligence in charge of all 17 US intelligence agencies, including the FBI, CIA, NSA, etc.
Excuse me, I need you to testify about agenda item number 4.
Yes.
Yes, and if you're not, then wait, then this isn't the platform.
What I'm saying is that the super rich people that control the telecom, control the big pharma, control everything, are basically trying to depopulate the earth, depopulate the masses and impoverish them. And 5G is part of a control grid that's going to surveil the population and also can degrade their health. The ruling class owns 5G. They own BlackRock and
Thank you for your input, Chris.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have one more person?
We do share. Hold on a second, please. We have Julian Boutard. We'll ask her to start a video for him.
Julian, will you turn your video on for us? Oh, there you are. I just don't see you
Yeah.
yet.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Will you raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth today in front of the Leeward Planning Commission?
Yes, I swear to tell the truth. Thank
Okay.
you.
State your name for us and the town you live in, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, yes. So my name is Julian Boitard, and I'm currently living in Washington State, but I'm planning to live also in Navi, and I've lived in Navi before. So I would like to testify about this ordinance. So from my personal experience, my wife has a degenerative nervous disorder, and where the myelin on her nerves is getting eaten up. And as such, that makes us very sensitive to radiation, and notably mobile phone radiations. In around 2011, at that time we were living in Australia, in a town that didn't have an antenna. And suddenly, so we got an antenna set up there, and she immediately lost sleep, and she had to be repatriated to France at that time. Because of the effects of the antenna. She was totally able to sleep before, and at that time it was not even a 5G antenna, it was not a 4G antenna, it was just a 3G antenna. So this issue of radiation has not been considered a lot. So from this personal account, she's kind of the canary in the gold mine regarding her disease, but that affects all of us. And I would like to remind the Commission that CHD filed a lawsuit against the Federal Communication, the FCC, and won. And they filed a lawsuit about the fact that the health considerations around whether the radiation are harmful or not regarding the health are outdated, because the measures considered are older than 25 years. So now they don't consider the new methods of communication. So in 25 years, the technology has been substantially increased. And as such, the health considerations need to be reviewed. So I would like to ask the Commission, what are the consideration regarding the fact that the FCC lost their lawsuit recently, and I would like to oppose that, so that they oppose the new amendment, so that they put new considerations to take into account the fact that the FCC lost their lawsuit against CHD regarding the health.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. So you have to take yourself off the video. I think that you can go on the YouTube channel and see the rest of the meeting. So we're going to close public testimony now. Yeah, we're done with public testimony.
Yes,
And this, and
just a reminder, Chair, we have Leila Vaga from Verizon is still online and available.
okay, so she's available for questions. Thank you. Thank you, Leila. But I want to give Director Kearns time to respond to some of the testifiers' concerns that we've heard.
Thank you, Chair. You know, a lot of the concerns we hear are around the health side of it, and that's really challenging for us as a body and as a commission. As you may have remembered, when we've had other previous cell phone towers, right now that's not really a decision point that we can make. So what we're looking at here is, you know, impact to the community, the visual impacts, and making sure that we have those embedded into whatever application process. And that's what we've basically done, as Tracy said, we've pulled all of that together. I want to also talk about a couple other things. Right now, at the use permit level, if somebody doesn't like the decision and they want to appeal it, it has to go to Third Circuit Court. Moving it to the plan approval level, if somebody wants to appeal it, it goes to the no, is that not right? It goes to the Board of Appeals. They can appeal any action. And so I think it actually makes it more engaging for community in a certain respect. We have heard things about Bill 194, which you folks will be seeing here soon. We're putting together the background report and recommendation to bring that to you folks. I think there's some similarities. It's interesting that 4689 was actually, Councilmember Evans was involved in that legislation that enacted the 60-day shot clock. And so I'm curious to see how that bill is developed in this. There's some very similarities. That's both the plan approval process. There's a distance component. And my thought is, as this bill comes through, the bill we're looking at right now, you folks will have thoughts about it, recommendations that we'll look at, and then we'll move it forward to the county council. Bill 194 will also move through the commissions and we'll have feedback, et cetera, and that'll make its way to the county council. And then I'm hoping that at some point there's the best of both worlds brought together to create the best possible bill for this. I see them both being on a plan approval process. I see them both taking care of visual impacts. I see lot size as a factor and certain similarities. And so those are some of my high level thoughts around this.
Glad you can I just, yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned that because a lot of the letters think that we have that bill from Cindy Evans. We don't.
Not yet.
And we haven't even seen that bill. And so this isn't sort of a competition of which bill and has what and everything. We're looking at the merits of what you've spent quite a bit of considerable time crafting for us to read and look at so that we can look at that and make recommendations for that as a commission. And then when we get to hear Bill 194, which I think we get to hear it in November, we can also look at that and make recommendations for that.
I had a question for Director Kern.
I just wanted to comment on that piece. He's going to finish speaking.
I'm ready to take questions.
Just off this, for development of telecommunication towers in special management areas, do they still have to go through that same process of acquiring that SMA?
If it's within the SMA and it triggers the standpoint of development, my understanding is yes.
I have a question. How many permits or issues for antennas were issued this year here in Hawaii?
In 2024, I don't think we've heard any. We would have we got one last year. I know last year we got the one up Saddle Road. The other one in Windward, we had one in Ocean View. That was the one that kind of turned into a mess around the contested case. But in 2024,
I think we've had any.
we haven't had any here, and I don't believe we've had any on the Windward side, correct, Tracy?
Not at this moment, but Maya, maybe she could correct me. I think we have 3 possible applications, right? Oh, 2, my apologies. 2 possible applications for telecommunication towers.
That we haven't accepted yet. Maya, maybe you can shed a little light as you manage the division and intake.
Yes, we actually just accepted one yesterday that will be coming to the Leeward Planning Commission in November.
Okay. Please make sure we have quorum to ensure that conditions will be on there.
Do you have another question?
I have another question. How many antennas are on the island right now, on the Hawaii island there?
How many applications?
Actually that were built, already built, are working right now.
How many towers?
Yes,
Yeah, we do not have a holistic accounting for that. We can look to see how many use permits and special permits have been issued. But we do not have a way to track all of the plan approvals that were issued for towers that didn't require one of those 2 use permits.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nobukawa.
I have, I guess, kind of a procedural process type question. So we have these 2 competing bills coming through. Well, one bill and one amendment to an ordinance. Is there a way we can look at both of them and make the 2 of them? Is that our job? Is that part of our job to look at the 2 of them and kind of figure out which pieces to take from each one?
I believe the timing is a little bit offset, but Maya, can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So the department's been actually working on this bill for several months. And there are timelines in code that says that the commission needs to make a decision on this bill within 60 days and provide it to the county council. So that would mean that having just received Councilmember Evans' bill, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, there's about a 1-month disconnect between when you need to make a decision on this bill and send it to council and when you'll be able to review the other bill.
So if we make a decision on this bill in 1 month, we would potentially be changing it in the next month?
You would be reviewing a separate bill.
But
They're 2
they're talking
separate
about the
bills.
same, they're talking about the same chapter though.
But
Correct.
we're recommending it to the county council, right? The county council makes these decisions. We're reviewing it. We're going to add what we think about it, what we might want to add to it, and send a favorable or unfavorable recommendation to the county council. And we can do that with this bill, and we can do that with the other bill. When it gets to the county council, it's my understanding they're going to look at it and make
If
it.
we're going to get into discussion, do we want to have a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I think we do. We've got.
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Yeah, we'll table it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Au.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that a favorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council on the proposed amendments to Chapter 25, Article 2, Article 4, Article 5, and Article 7 of the Hawaii County Code 2016 edition as amended, docket number PL PD I 2024-00008.
Second.
And we have a second by Commissioner Kanuha. So now we have a discussion. So now to go back to your question. So that's just my understanding because I had the same question. And I felt a little bit funny because all these people thought we'd seen this bill, which we haven't seen. And we're looking at this bill. And so I think today our focus is this bill. So we should look at it, make our recommendations. It's not a competition. So Cindy Evans may have written a wonderful bill. We're going to get to look at that in November. We're going to review it and make a recommendation. Then all this goes to the county council. And then they're going to come up with the bill, I think. And then then they will vote on it. Or what happens? It doesn't come back here again, right? We make our recommendation. Sorry, Maya.
Yeah, so both bills will go up separately to county council with recommendations from the Windward and Leeward Planning Commission. And then the council can decide whether to schedule both bills for the same committee and council meetings or for them to evaluate them separately. But in the end, what we think will happen is they will synthesize the best parts of both bills that they like and that they want to move forward with to adopt.
Right. So in that way, ensuring the public's best interest, because you have a lot more input than what we're seeing here. And you'll have a lot more.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. With that being said, there is one amendment that I would like to make to what we're looking at today, and that would be the addition of the word complete to that section 25-276D3. Yeah, planning department understands that application means a complete application, but the general public generally thinks application means you've handed it across, somebody at the other side of the counter has taken it, they kind of think that that's what just saying application means. I think adding the word complete here, it would also make it in conformance with the HRS, but that is much more, much easier to when you're talking with the public saying it was that application that you thought was complete was not complete, therefore the clock did not start. I don't know how to do that.
So we
change
we're
this.
gonna change we're gonna
You have a
ask.
motion to
wait,
amend
we
the
have a-
original
Okay,
motion.
thank you.
So, wait,
If you're in discussion around it.
yes, we have a motion to amend the original motion.
I'd like to make comment first before before I even possibly change my motion. I like the way the bill is, the ordinance is presented to us in Exhibit 2A and the way it's written. I really appreciate, the addition and a lot of thought that was put into section 25-4-12. Section 25 was very small. I think it was 2 paragraphs, maybe 3 paragraphs, and now it's all the way up to the letter K. And I think all of that addresses a lot of the community's concerns. It addresses a lot of the health concerns by moving these towers away from the setbacks farther than what it was supposed to be, to remove it away from any residential building by 1,200 feet, to move it away from schools. So I really like that section that is written, and you know, all this discussion that we've been having up to this point, you know, this is gonna be nitpicked more and more as it moves forward. That 1,200 feet might be even more in the end. And that may be incorporated in Councilwoman Evans' Bill 194. So I just want to move it forward as written. I like it the way it is. It addresses a lot of concerns. And to be honest, it seems like the cell tower developers, from what I'm reading, they don't like a lot of it. So I think this is in favor of everybody. It's in favor of the community. It addresses health concerns, and even more so, county council is going to nitpick it, and it's going to be even a better bill for the community. So I don't want to make any amendments. I want to just move it forward as is.
So what do we do now? Wait a minute. What do we do? Commissioner Rodriguez?
You know, I just had a concern. You know, I was reading briefly about, you know, that this, you know, supposedly cell antennas are going to become obsolete here pretty soon, that they're going to satellites. You know, you know, they have their faults too. So, you know, I think, you know, this bill should include, you know, that we seek safer, you know, more efficient technology instead of just, you know, trying to fix something that's gonna be out, you know, technology is always changing, and I believe it's gonna change soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So going back to where we are of asking for an amended motion, he doesn't want to amend his motion.
That's fine with me too. It was
That's
just
fine
that
with you too. Okay.
I felt that, you know, it'll be more clearer to the public if we
Clearer to
add
the
that one
public.
word. But if
Add the
the
word.
planning department feels that it's fine, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, so any more discussion? And, you know, I just want to mention too, it's hard because, you know, of the restrictions of what we're really looking at, what we're really voting on, you know, I know it's frustrating for Director Kearns because we hear from the public so much of the frustration and the concern about health and all that. And that isn't what we can look at. So it isn't that we don't appreciate all the input that's been given from our communities about this. And they will have an ample opportunity to do this at the county council level also. So. Yes.
Madam Chair, I just want to make one more comment.
Yes.
The one thing that I don't like about this moving forward, and the way it's written is it does cut out the community's concerns. You know, it's very important for the commission to hear it in the form of a special permit, because this is the community's opportunity to weigh in and share their concerns, all their concerns. And sometimes we have to stop them and tell them, please stick to the agenda item. But it's important for us commissioners to hear what's happening with the Kapuna in the area, what's happening with their personal life stories. Even though it doesn't pertain to what the agenda item is, it's important for us to hear that. And that's one thing that I'm going to be disappointed about. But the way it's written and the way it's going to come out in the end, I think it's going to favor those issues. It's going to favor the community members that are in health distress. And by moving these towers farther away from the property lines, moving them farther away from residents and schools, I think it's just going to benefit everybody. It's more regulations. And, you know, another thing that I want to make comment is that everybody's talking about the director and getting personal about Mr. Kern. It's not Mr. Kern, and it's not the director. It's the rules that the director has to follow and the way it's written. So I just want the community to know that, and even our commissioners, that, you know, this is a great thing that's happening. Even though it doesn't sound like it, this is a great thing. We're putting more regulations, and it's going to be safer for the community.
Thank you.
Just a comment.
Vice
I
Chair
appreciate,
Paishon
I support and echo the comments made by Commissioner L.
Thank you. All right, so we're ready for a roll call vote then.
Yes, the motion on the floor is to forward a favorable recommendation to the county council. Commissioner Au,
Aye.
Commissioner Kanuha,
Aye.
Commissioner Dela Cruz,
Aye.
Commissioner Noborikawa,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Paishon Duarte,
Aye.
and Chair
I'll just
DeFranco.
note for the record, Vice Chair, Vice
She
Sean
said
Duarte.
Actually said
Chair DeFranco.
it. Aye.
The motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Get into it. Planning Director's Report, the report on special management area SMA determinations and minor permits issued by the Planning Director for the month of August 2024. The SMA reports for August was distributed via email. Do the commissioners have any questions about the SMA report? No questions? Okay. Agenda items for the next meeting, please. And I want to know if any of the commissioners have anything they want to agendize. Oh, Maya, then you, Ms. Jackson.
Chair, there are 4 items for your next agenda, and we also have a coastal zone management, special management area training in the morning.
Great. Okay, the announcement, Leeward Planning Commission's next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 17th, 2024, here in the County Council Chambers in Kona, and the public can also testify via Zoom. The date and venue of the meeting are subject to change. Do we have any other announcements from the staff?
No, we don't.
We do not. Okay, so if no further business, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Commissioner Au,
Second.
second by Paishon, Vice Chair. Oh, by Commissioner Noibora. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? No. The meeting is adjourned. The time is 12:10. Well,
The closed caption transcript will be terminated shortly, and those who wish to save the transcript should do so now. Thank you.
so commissioners' lunch is in this back room today. You go right through that door over there for lunch.